At least 500,000 anglers are chomping at the bit to get out on Minnesota lakes for this weekend's fishing opener. But fish this year might not have as much to chomp on. Reporter Meredith Hackler is live on a local lake to explain more. Meredith?
Hey Shannon, I am here at Eagle Lake in Maple Grove where the sun isn't shining, but it is a little bit warmer than it has been the rest of this week, and that is making fishermen rather excited for this weekend's walleye fishing opener. Now this lake is stocked with walleye, but there is one fly in the fishing ointment. Fishermen might have a hard time finding some of the live bait they need to fish.
Golden shiners.
Fishing is a big part of Minnesota culture.
One of the most wonderful walleye baits that are out there right now.
Opening day is Saturday, and fishermen could have a hard time finding their favorite live bait.
This time of year the water's cold, so live bait becomes a key factor. This year we do have a little bit of a shortage. It's been kind of the trend in the last 3 years, but this year seems to be worse than others.
This time of year, this bait tank is usually filled with sucker minnows, but due to the bait shortage, there's currently nothing in there.
Mainly shiners and sucker minnows. Those two things were hit the hardest. Some of the ponds, if they didn't freeze out completely, they almost did, or the water's still too cold and the minnows won't trap. But I'm hearing some horror stories from my bait guy now as far as some of his ponds that have just completely died off. No oxygen at all. So it's going to take a little time for those ponds to rejuvenate these bait fish.
While Big B's Bait and Tackle has a large amount of shiner minnows, they'll be selling at a premium since they're hard to come by.
It's due to cold weather and too much snow, longer winter, late ice out, etc. like that. But there's a lot of different alternatives that they can use.
Once the weather starts to warm up, the water will too.
We could end up having a better bite down here,
which should have a positive effect on the shortage.
Some of the ponds that aren't producing right now that still have viable bait fish in them, they are definitely going to trap.
However, until then, Brian Sular says there are great lures you can use instead.
You know, say the new googly eyes jigs, very popular. You can pair this up with a plastic, say something simple like a Mr. Twister, and that is going to produce fish also.
Now, bait shop owners also blame Minnesota law for the bait shortage. Bait shops are not allowed to transport live bait over state lines from states like, say, Wisconsin, which are not suffering from as much of a bait shortage as we are here in Minnesota. Live in Maple Grove, Meredith Hackler, CCX News.
Thank you, Meredith. The Hennepin County Sheriff's Office is pushing safety for this weekend's fishing opener. It teamed up with North Memorial Health to replace 3 large life jacket loaner boxes. There are a total of 6 throughout the county, including 1 at Medicine Lake in Plymouth. Each holds about 17 jackets from infant to adult sizes to borrow if needed. The goal is to save lives.
In Minnesota, 90% of boating-related drownings, the victim was not wearing a life jacket. That trend continued in 2018 with 13 out of 14, or 92%, victims not wearing life jackets. Something else to consider this time of the year, water temperature. Water temperatures are extremely cold throughout the entire state. Cold water can turn a great swimmer into a victim very rapidly. It's very important now more than ever to wear a life jacket.
The loaner boxes are based on the honor system. People who borrow the jackets are expected to return them. The annual Twin Cities Race for the Cure takes place on Mother's Day, and a New Hope breast cancer survivor will play a prominent role. For the past 18 years, a group of volunteers have made their way to Joe Fashman's garage to arrange floral bouquets for Sunday's event. Fashman is a former florist and uses her connections to get local shops to donate flowers by the truckload. Roughly 80 volunteers will spend the better part of a day making 3,500 floral arrangements.
There's 5 vendors here in the city that are wholesalers that donate me flowers, and without that, I couldn't do this. Without my friends, it wouldn't happen, and I'm just the little cog here that works to make it happen.
The Race for the Cure kicks off at Southdale in Edina Sunday morning, starting at 7. Maple Grove Senior High is fired up for their spring musical. Neil Persley has a preview in today's Weekend Showcase.
The theme of this year's center stage is the power of love. We knew we wanted to do something with the love theme to it, and it took us a while to really settle on that as the title. We went through a bunch of the songs in the show and tried to find out which one had the title that we were going for, and when we asked the kids, they said the power of love was the one that really thought they thought encapsulated the whole message of the whole show.
And so the power of love it is for Maple Grove Senior High's Center Stage Act 9 offering this year. For seniors like Jake Matthey, this show caps off a high school theater career of learning.
It's a definite bittersweet feeling because I started back my freshman year with Les Mis and Center Stage Act 6, and going through the progression of shows leading up until now has been just a roller coaster of learning so many things, not only about music and choreography and staging, but also just how to be a better person in my life.
None of the wonderful things that you see on stage would happen without an even larger group of people working behind the scenes, from set design and construction to lighting design. This is senior Anna Belden's 8th show, and her crew of 5 is responsible for getting all of the lighting instruments set, focused, and timed into the show.
During the show, I call cues because we have 3 different people operating spotlights, so that highlights the people who have solos or little small groups. Yeah, I started when I was a freshman, like Jake and Les Mis, and they got me on Spotlight, and I've loved it ever since.
Really behind the scenes are the Maple Grove Theater Boosters. Without them, the show literally wouldn't go on.
I mean, the boosters finance this show, so we don't get any district funding to put on the spring show at Maple Grove. So it's 100% all hands on deck from the boosters, both financially and with volunteer resources, just to pull the show off.
In fact, those shiny new risers on stage aren't sexy, but they are essential and were purchased by the boosters this year. There's a lot of power in this show, and if you go, you'll love it. For Weekend Showcase from Maple Grove Senior High, Neil Persley, CCX News.
The show runs through next weekend, and of course you can find out more on our website, ccxmedia.org.
The Wayzata baseball team lost a tough 5-4 decision to future Lake Conference opponent St. Michael Albertville Thursday. As Jay Wilcox reports, the Trojans are gearing up toward another playoff run.
It hasn't been all smooth sailing, but Wayzata's 7-4 record entering Thursday is pretty decent, considering they have a lot of new faces in the lineup.
Yeah, we've had a couple good wins. You know, that Chanhassen win, we're in 10 innings. It was good to win that one. But again, we've had some tough losses. I feel like some games we could have won, didn't really go our way. So, I mean, I think we have some good games to build off of and some games we need to look back on and some things to fix.
I think things are turning out really well. The team's working really great together. We're getting a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of great plays out of a bunch of people.
You know, I'm pleasantly surprised with what we've had. We definitely need to work on being more consistent, but we've found some players that have been able to perform at a high level day in and day out.
Wednesday's downpour pushed the Trojans indoors. It's a maintenance day at this point.
Definitely right here we're going to work on trying to make sure that we don't get on top of the wall and just try to hit some line drives and like work on our swings and whatever else we've been needing.
You know, I think the biggest goal when you're playing almost every day and then you get this unexpected practice is really to just keep their mental strength up and get them to focus. And so, you know, we're going to have a 45-minute practice. We're going to get in, get our work done, and get out and try to keep them fresh.
Wayzata's been pretty dominant in the Section 6 4A tournament the past 3 seasons, winning it each time. Teams like Hopkins and Armstrong will really push them in a more balanced top end this spring.
And I'd put St. Louis Park in there. I know they beat Hopkins, they beat us, and so you know, all 4 of those teams are really going to be competitive towards the middle part of that section, and I know the seed meeting is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be challenging. I think there'll be a few teams competing for those top 2 seeds to get the bye, so I think it's important to come out and win some of these next few games, especially against those 2 opponents.
It's been a quick season, and Wayzata's hoping to get playoff ready in the next couple of weeks. Jay Wilcox, CCX Sports.
After playing Edina Friday evening, the Trojans have Senior Monday when they host Centennial at 6:30 p.m. A share of first place was on the line in MCAA softball Thursday as league leader Maranatha Christian Academy played host to second place St. Croix Prep. Highlights from this one: Maranatha will strike first in this game. Kennedy Berquist hit to right field, gets past the fielder. Sammy Nelson scores for a 1-0 lead. And it's 2-0 Mustangs after 1. In the third, leading 2-1, MCA's Chloe Palmer tags one, and this one gets to the fence. A triple on that play, and it's 3-1 Mustangs. Berquist's smash gets through the line shortstop, and it's 4-1 as Palmer scores. St. Croix Prep ties it and then goes ahead here. Annika Berquist hammers it down the left field line. to score Lauren Berquist in the top of the 5th. It's 6-4 Lions after 5. Leading 7-4, they break it open in the top of the 7th. Quinn Grace Peterson drops a hit to score Grace Klingsporn for an 8-4 lead. St. Croix Prep scores 10 runs in the 7th to win, going away 16 for the final, and the teams are now tied for first in the MCAA. The Breck girls lacrosse team is having a very strong season, with their only loss coming against top-ranked Eden Prairie. The Mustangs figured to get a tough test when they met up with Highway 100 neighbor Benilde-St. Margaret's Thursday on CCX. The host Red Knights start fast. Maggie Anderson for the goal gives Benilde a 3-1 lead. Breck storms back. Polly Burns scores from the free position. Breck gets 3 in a row to tie at 4-4 at halftime. Second half, after Breck scores, Benilde gets 3 straight. Piper Elin with her 2nd in a row to make it 7-5 Benilde. Breck nets the next 4. Natalie Ott finishes a nice passing sequence with her 4th goal of the game, and the Mustangs lead at 9-7. But Benilde scores 3 straight. Maitland Luxon scores from the free position for a 10-9 lead with just over a minute left. Ott scores from the free position to tie at 10-10 with 17 seconds left. Eloise Cherian scores in overtime to win it. Breck wins it 11-10.